So today I'm going to be presenting to you about the word identification and spelling test known as the Wist. So the Wist provides a nationally standardized diagnostic instrument designed specifically for students having difficulty with reading, spelling, or both. It was created and written by Barbara A. Wilson and Rebecca H. Felton and published by the Pro-ED. The Wist evolved from the Wilson Assessment of Decoding and Encoding test, known as the WADE. So the Wist focuses solely on decoding and encoding of words in isolation, the ability to read nonsense words, and sound symbol knowledge. The WADE is used more for progress monitoring, so if students have had interventions, where do they fall now? WADE measures mastery of what has been instructed already, so it's more focused on reading overall. So some features of the word identification and spelling test, or the Wist, are that the Wist meets teachers' need for detailed information that can be used to identify the areas in which students are having difficulty with reading and/or spelling, and to develop appropriate instructional interventions. It includes both norm-referenced and informal assessments. Measures word identification, spelling, and sound symbol knowledge. It identifies students who are struggling with reading and spelling. And it includes an elementary version, grades 2 to 5, and a secondary version, grades 6 to 12. So this test can be administered to students anywhere in the age range of 7 to 18. So the Wist has 3 subtests, which can be used in either the norm-referenced or informal assessment. So the first is word identification. The second is spelling. And the third is sound symbol knowledge. So the norm reference assessment has 2 core subtests, word identification and spelling, and 1 supplemental subtest, sound symbol knowledge, and a composite score called the Fundamental Literacy Index. On the informal assessment, the scores are used for clinical and instructional purposes. So a breakdown of each of the 3 subtests are that the word identification measures word reading accuracy, which includes students' sight recognition of familiar words and their ability to apply word attack skills in order to decode unfamiliar words, as well as their sight recognition or orthographic memory of high-frequency words with 1 or more irregularities. So that's the word identification subtest. The spelling subtest assesses students' ability to spell words correctly when they're dictated to them. So it specifically measures students' recall of correct letter sequences for familiar words, or one's ability to apply sound symbol relationships and rules of English orthography in order to spell unfamiliar words, and their recall of letter order in high-frequency words with 1 or more irregularities. And then the third subtest, sound symbol knowledge, assesses a student's ability to associate sounds or phonemes with specific letters, known as graphemes. So the Wist converts the raw scores to percentiles, standard scores, and age and grade equivalents. It includes an extensive yet practical and formal assessment system for analyzing student performance that leads to instructional intervention. So the Wist really meets teachers' needs for detailed information that can be used to identify the areas in which students are having difficulty with reading and spelling, and to develop appropriate instructional interventions. So the test specifically targets those aspects of reading that are most important for the identification and treatment of poor and disabled readers. So the results are really helpful for teachers and administrators and can really assist them in figuring out how best to intervene. So the Wist is an individually administered diagnostic test. It can be used by anyone who has training in standardized test administration. It's administered no more than just once a year, and it was normed on a representative sample of 1,520 children and adolescents ranging in age from 7 to 18 years who resided in 16 different states. So when it comes to information about student performance, 3 informal procedures provide additional diagnostic information about the student's performance on the test items, sound symbol skills, and errors peculiar to written words. So information from these analyses will enhance the examiner's interpretation of the child's test performance and help formulate a literacy intervention plan. So my personal reaction to the test, I think it's really important to measure students' abilities when it comes to word identification, spelling, and sound symbol knowledge, and that this type of testing is important so that struggling readers and spellers can be identified and interventions can take place. And I also like that there are informal assessment systems for analyzing student performance within the Wist assessment. But as with any diagnostic assessment, I think that students are either good test takers or poor test takers, and that a test like this does not necessarily generate results that are commensurate with student abilities. I think that there should be a component to this that is not multiple choice so that students who are poor test takers can demonstrate their skills in another format. I think that a major strength of this test is that the data that it produces is extremely helpful when it comes to identifying students who need support. So even though there are going to be students who are poor test takers whose results aren't necessarily representative of their abilities, overall, I think that the results are really helpful and can assist administrators and teachers in figuring out which students need support, what kind of support they need specifically, and the best path forward when it comes to intervention. Thank you.